wanted to sit down and talk about the mental breakdown that I had over the weekend. I've got a couple of projects that I'm working on. It has been insanely busy at work. Good morning. It is Monday. It's about 7:30 in the morning, and I start my regular job here at 8 o'clock. So I've got a few minutes beforehand to film this and to get some planning done before I actually have to get started with everything. But got my cup of coffee and I'm ready for the week. I'm a little gravelly right now because one, I just got up not too long ago, and I'm also just getting over a cold. So, you know, it's been a fun weekend here at my house. But this week is going to be a lot of fun. I've got a couple of projects that I'm working on, which I should have a video where I'm talking about all the different projects that I'm working on. I've got like 5 different ones, three of which are in the active stages of writing and planning and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that I'm going to get some feedback for the pen name project later this week. I've already had one person said that they finished it, so I'm just waiting for them to fill out their questionnaire and send me any notes that they had. And I've got one more person I've got to check in with to make sure that they're moving along with it. Um, I've got the questionnaire and the contract for my cover artist that I'll be working with here in the next couple months in May. So I've got to work on getting some details for them here in a little bit. And then I've got some character art that I've commissioned, but they won't be able to get to my request or my designs until about 8 to 10 weeks from what they said. So I've got to fill out some details for them as well. So fun stuff there. But for the most part this week, it's going to be working on draft one of Project TF, which I've mentioned in the last video. If I haven't, I'll put the title card up there for you guys to check that video out. But for Project TF, I'm in draft one. I'm about 8, 9 chapters in right now, about 20,000 words. I've got a little bit, quite a bit to go. I've planned out about 29 chapters, give or take. I've had to make some adjustments because I do have a critique partner slash beta reader who's actively going through, and we're doing a couple chapters at a time that I'm sending to them. And I am finding that I'm really liking this kind of feedback more, just because I tend to, overthink things since I move stuff around and I get a little bit overwhelmed with the big picture stuff. So having a critique partner slash beta reader who is doing a couple chapters at a time, who can kind of go through the start, give me the feedback of the first couple chapters, was, even if it was just the first like 4 chapters, honestly, the feedback that they gave me was just invaluable. I had them and I had one other person who we just did a chapter swap of 4 chapters and, gave each other feedback on that. And even if I just walked away with that feedback from both of them, honestly, it's been invaluable because I tend to, again, get a little overwhelmed with the big picture stuff. So having early feedback and to know what elements and what story elements and that kind of thing I need to work on at the start definitely will help me later, because I won't have to go all the way back once I finish writing it. I won't have to go all the way back to the start, fix whatever things from, feedback or whatnot. I won't have to go back and fix everything and then rewrite half of the story, because that's what happened with Pen Name Project. Is I didn't have any feedback early on. I didn't have an outline for that one either, which was a huge, huge problem for me, because with my personality type, just completely pantsing that was not a great idea for me, because this is probably, let me see, this is probably draft 5 that I've sent to them for. I'm hoping this is the final, absolute final story version, so it'll be copy edits and that kind of thing after that. But this is probably version 5 of completely different story, scenes, all that kind of stuff. So RIP to my poor beta readers for that, but they were absolutely incredible and they've always been super supportive. So I'm very grateful for them as well. But what I've learned from Pen Name Project is that I need an outline. I need at least some sort of general guideline to know where I'm going. And I'm discovering even through this process is I probably need even more detailed of an outline, because what's coming after Project TF that I'm currently outlining is Project DDD, which is going to be book one in an interconnected romance, small town romance kind of series that I'm going to be doing. And because it's interconnected, they're going to be standalones, but there are going to be connected story elements and that kind of thing, and obviously place and people and all that. So I have to have those kind of ready to go, so to speak, so that when I do start writing the rest of the series, I have all of those details planned out and ready to go. So basically, I'm outlining the first book, but I'll probably also be outlining the second two right after that. So that way, everything kind of flows from A to Z. It's going to be a busy week with all of that. So, good morning. And I will see you throughout the rest of this vlog. And yeah. Hello. It is later in the day. I've got my little comfy sweatshirt that I like to put on back again. Finished with my work today with my full 9 to 5. It is now about 6:45-ish. So I'm going to go ahead and get some work done. Hello. I did some cleaning up in my office because I really, really needed to get some of that done, especially my desk. It was kind of a disaster zone. And my keyboard needed some like deep cleaning. So I'd ordered these really cute little keycaps. So I'll put the video on screen of that after my husband helped me put it together because I am not technical in the least. So he helped me set that up, and I think it looks a lot better. And I think my desk overall looks more clean. So you can kind of see down here, I've got my dinner, so I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna get some writing done. Good morning. It is very early. I ended up waking up before my alarm went off this morning, which is always just so much fun. So I decided to go ahead and just get up, get my coffee ready, which is featured just here off screen. I'm going to get some work done before I actually start my full-time stuff. So a little, update for this week, I guess, is that it has been insanely busy at work. Like, it has been insanely, insanely busy. And that makes it difficult for working on other projects and that kind of thing because it takes up, I mean, obviously, I can't work in the middle of my work day. So I have to wait until after work. But it makes it hard just because I'm so tired by the end of it that I'm just so exhausted that I can barely function. So I'm trying to work on working around those particular times. So I have gotten, I have gotten some work done this week. So that is good. So Project TF, for example, is I've got some notes that I've been incorporating throughout the week slowly for the first couple of chapters. So that's been really helpful. And then I think today after work, I've got chapter 12 slotted for me to work on. So I'm about, I think I'm about 25,000 words right now. My goal is like 80,000. It's just like the bare minimum of what I need to get done. So I've still got a ways to go. So I don't know if I'm going to meet my April 17th goal for having this draft done, but we'll see. I mean, I'm hopeful that I can get it done, but life happens, things happen, and I'm gonna have to start getting used to the fact that like I can't plan every single detail, which might be able might be able to see down here, Luna wandering or her tail flicking around. Because it's early though in the morning, I have some extra time before I actually need to get started with my workday. So I'm going to try to get some planning done. I'm going to look at my newsletter, which, if you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, the information for that is in the description below. But I've got to work on what I'm going to be posting for next week, because I like to post, or I like to write in advance, so that way I have the following week already written. So that way when I publish it, it's already written and edited. So I think because of the date, that next week will be my March wrap up of basically everything that I've been doing in the month of March. So that'll be pretty exciting. For the rest of the day after I get done with that, it's going to be my full-time job. And then after work, it's going to be working on hopefully the next chapter for Project TF. So wish me luck. Good morning. It is early. I have my cup of coffee that I've made, and I wanted to sit down and talk about the mental breakdown that I had over the weekend. So let's talk about that. So, good morning, Luna. So, I wanted to talk about the not so glamorous parts of writing and editing and publishing a book, because as much as I wish that it was all sunshine and rainbows and I fart glitter and all that kind of jazz, as much as I wish that were the case, it's not always that way. There are times when, things just don't turn out the way you wanted them or the way you had planned, which in this case, everything ended up, let me preface this with, everything turned out fine. Everything turned out exactly the way they should have. I was able to work through everything and figure out a solution, all that kind of stuff. So let me preface this whole thing with that. But with that said, I had a mental breakdown over some feedback. Now, I know how that sounds. Oh my God, you can't handle feedback? What? That's the whole shtick with being a writer, is you've got to handle feedback. Yes, that's true, but it's not in that way. And let me explain. So I got some feedback from a editor, and I had gone through this whole process with, and this is for the pen name project. So this is the first one of the romances that I'm putting out. I had sent the book to a copy editor in hopes of working together. And I got, a lot of editors, when you initially want to work with them, they'll send you like a sample edit. So they'll ask for a certain number of words or a whole chapter or whatever. And you send that to them and they'll edit it as they would normally. And it's kind of a sneak peek on what it would be like to work together, which is really handy. So I had sent this, the first chapter to this editor, and I was not expecting the feedback that I got. I had worked with beta readers beforehand with this book, and I was expecting that to be it. Like, I was expecting that to basically be the developmental portion of this book. So I had worked with the beta readers multiple times, several rounds, absolutely phenomenal. They're two of my really good friends, so shout out to them if they happen to be watching this. They gave me some really great feedback, and it was really, really helpful. But I think I was expecting that to just kind of be it in terms of that element of writing. And so when I sent, the first chapter to this editor, I basically got the feedback of like, oh, did you work with a developmental editor? There's a couple points that, I could sense that you might need that. And I don't do developmental editing, so that might be something you want to look into. And I took that extremely hard. And I know I should. Again, everybody on the internet, everybody everywhere is going to tell you, like, don't take anything personally, don't take your feedback personally, all that kind of stuff. And yes, don't take it personally because they are helping you. And she was very helpful in that way. Because basically she's like, I don't want you to waste your money on something that you aren't ready for yet, which is great. But I took it personally in the way of not even like, "Oh my god, she hates it. Oh, it's so awful. My book is awful." I didn't take it personally in that way. I took it in a I was expecting my plan to go smoothly. I was expecting, "Oh, I've got a deadline for this. I've got a deadline for that. Oh, this is coming up." And, I've got all like, I basically had a trajectory of what I wanted to happen and to be told, basically I see a goal line, I see finish line, I see it up ahead and to be basically kicked back, a good bit to where you can't see that goal line as clearly anymore. It was pretty devastating. So I had a full blown just mental breakdown over that because I wasn't expecting that. And, again, I'm still learning. This is I've published a book before, but this is the first one where I'm really focusing on writing and publishing and all that kind of stuff. So this is a learning process for me as well. And so to again basically be told like, you think you're here, but you're actually way back here was pretty devastating. So I had a whole, breakdown over it over the weekend and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And because the other part of this, the other element of also why, or like another thing that factored into this little mentee bee was cha-ching. That's all I could hear in my head was cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Okay, I'm going to have to pay another editor. I'm going to have to pay even more. And it's, if you're a indie author, it's not cheap. Like this stuff is not cheap at all. I mean, even for traditionally published authors, it's not cheap, but like especially for indie authors, because you're paying for all of this upfront and you're paying for everything yourself. Whereas with, most traditional, they cover a lot of this stuff for you. I wasn't expecting to have to pay even more than what I had already budgeted for. And that was a big blow because again, I work full time. I have this full time job that I'm about to start here in a little bit. And then I have another job that I'm a managing partner for. And then I'm also an author. So it's like to have another cost added onto all of this was, good morning, Lena. And so I had some time where I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I like was crying to my husband about it because I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I can even do this. I don't know if I can afford that. Like, we're not financially destitute. We are very financially fortunate. We are very blessed in that way. But, we still have to budget and we still have to figure stuff out with finances to make sure that we can afford everything. But I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he was like, well, why don't you like take a breath first of all? Because again, panicked and he's like, why don't you take a breath? Maybe talk to some other editors, see if they also have similar feedback on that first chapter, or however much they are willing to sample edit for you, and just get an idea. And maybe that'll help you get an estimate of exactly whether, this first editor was correct and you really do need a developmental edit, or, maybe it was just that particular editor wasn't really interested. And that was like the nice way of them saying, no, thank you. So I was like, okay, that's not a bad idea. And I so I went and I researched a bunch of different editors and I asked around on a writers Discord that I'm a part of that are all phenomenal people, just absolutely incredible. I love that Discord so much. So I asked around and I was, trying to figure out, okay, if I do need a developmental edit, let's see if I can find something that has like a package. So instead of just like, okay, well, you have to pay for this, and then you have to pay for this, and then you have to pay for this. It's like, okay, I need a full sweep. So developmental, copy, proofreading. I need the full entourage, so to speak. And I discovered there are people who do that. Not everybody does that. Most people, block it out of like, okay, you only do one thing at a time. But some people do like a whole comprehensive package. So I was like, okay, well, does anybody have anybody that they recommend and that kind of thing? And so I had gotten a hold of a couple different editors outside of that group, and I had a even bigger panic attack because that was in, oh my gosh, I think I was quoted for one of them with like $5,000 for the whole thing, which is not a, let me preface, which is again, the whole thing with the whole shtick with indie authors, even that's not a horrible deal because you're getting a very comprehensive package of an entire developmental edit, copy edit, proofread. not a terrible price, but, for somebody who was was not factoring in for that much, I had another even bigger mental breakdown because I was like, "How in the heck am I gonna afford that?" So it ended up working out. I was able to find a different editor through this writer's Discord instead of just looking it up online, who was willing to work with me. And, she and I are working together now, and it's much more affordable. And we're doing payment plans and all that kind of stuff. So ended up working out for the best. I think the book will be better with that now. I love it. Luna just wants to hang out this morning. I think the book will be better for having these edits done now. But this is the not so pretty, not so glamorous parts of being an author and being a writer. And I feel like it's important to showcase those occasionally because, like, as much I am guilty of, I love to go on YouTube and watch like those aesthetic, pretty, writing vlogs and, author vlogs and stuff like that, where everything is great and beautiful and, the beautiful aesthetics and all that kind of stuff. But like, this is the reality of being an author, and especially an author who isn't full time yet, is that there are things that are going to come up that aren't as glamorous and aren't as pretty. And I feel like it's important to show those parts as well. So here that is. I had a full on mental breakdown over my book because it didn't go exactly as I planned. So, hi, I'm Elizabeth. I am guilty of all of it. So, hello, editing Liz here. I realized after the abrupt ending to the last clip you probably just watched that I didn't do any sort of outro. Um, I am still very new to this whole writing vlog, this whole thing. So I'm still trying to learn editing, all that kind of stuff. It's not my forte per se. I really enjoy doing it, honestly, though. So it's been very fun learning a new skill at the very least, but I'm still learning how to do these kinds of videos. And I thank you if you stuck around to this point and you're seeing this. Let me know in the comments if you like this kind of content from me and you want to continue seeing vlogs and that kind of thing for the writing process, or if you have any other kind of content you want to see from me. If another thing you've probably noted is that I am a decent writer. I am not the best public speaker, so I tend to ramble. I tend to say certain things over and over again because that's just how my mind works. I literally got into writing because I'm not the best public speaker. So anytime there's any sort of issue or anything like that that popped up at home, the first thing I would do is I'd write a letter to like my parents or whatever and be like, hey, here, take my letter. I need you to read it because I can't express how I'm feeling because I ramble and probably like a little bit like what I'm doing now. So I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope you guys are all having a great week and I'll see you guys in the next video.